is cheap and diversionary and does not merit any discussion or use of public time and resources.
In our view, was too big, too large, and was not going to make it possible for the counties as they exist today, many of them.
From 47 to 9, surprising reactions on a proposed bill to cut down the number of counties.
My name is Eric Gitari. I am a homosexual in Kenya.
We'll hit him with a stone until death. And that fellow, if he does that way, he will enter officially paradise.
Kama basi atakuwa amekataa hata nielewa, basi huyo mimi nitamtenga kuwa asiwe ndugu yangu.
How would you treat your own son or daughter if they were gay? And a hearing-impaired girl goes through high school with her own interpreter in class.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
A very good evening to you. I trust your weekend has started off well. It is the 25th of January 2014. Welcome to our bulletin tonight, and the big story we're headlining today is the proposal to reduce the number of counties, and today we will have the Member of Parliament of Mwingi Central who is making these proposals, and we will be speaking to him about that when Parliament reconvenes next month. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to that top story we've been talking about, and we're starting off with news coming from Sekuru in Mwingi. The Mwingi Central MP Joe Mutambo has triggered a hot debate by saying a bill proposing to have the number of counties reduced from 47 to 9 is ready and will be tabled when Parliament reopens. The argument has been that the county governments are too many and are gobbling up too much of the taxpayers' money. The details of the proposed bill will be revealed to us shortly as we speak to him, like we had promised you. Now, that proposed bill has triggered fiery reactions from a section of senators and one of the members of the now defunct Committee of Experts. Samagina has those details.
From adversarial street protests over counties' tax levies to claims of opulence by governors at the expense of development, county governments face a real survival test barely a year into existence. The proposal by Mwingi Central MP Joe Mutambo in Sekuru is likely to prove explosive, and his proposed bill to cut counties from 47 to only 9 is bound to trigger a fiery debate on the floor of the National Assembly and beyond. But those charged with the duty to protect the 47 counties have already reacted.
The number that was finally accepted by the Committee of Experts, which is 47 counties, in our view was too big, too large, and was not going to make it possible for the counties as they exist today, many of them, to be self-sustaining entities.
Any discussion about interfering with the structure, the composition, the functioning of counties is uncalled for. It is unacceptable. It is anti-devolution.
We as the Senate do not believe that we can start now interfering with the 47 counties that were established by the Constitution in 2010. We believe that it is too early now.
The drafters of the Constitution have dismissed the proposal to cut down the number of counties as retrogressive, poised to revive the centralized system of government. The vice chair of the now defunct Committee of Experts says the move is centered on Parliament's egocentrism.
We can argue about efficiency and making the system more efficient, but this whole idea that let's throw this out for institutions that are not even a year old is extremely selfish.
Joe Mutambo and those who support him are pegging the affront on counties to austerity measures claiming counties are becoming expensive to maintain and alleged extravagance of governors.
I think there is some merit in what the member for Mwingi is saying in terms of reducing the number of counties.
An attack on devolution is actually an attack on the right of citizens to participate in the governance and decision-making processes.
To alter county boundaries, Section 188 of the Constitution stipulates that Parliament needs to set up an independent commission whose recommendations conveyed to Parliament be rubber-stamped by at least 2/3 of both the National Assembly and the Senate. Equally, the delimitation exercise is hinged on population density and demographic trends, physical and human infrastructure, historical and cultural ties, the cost of administration, the views of communities affected, and geographical features as parameters for tinkering boundaries.
We have the 47 counties because the same parliamentarians in 2010 did not bother to listen to the Interim Independent Boundaries Commission.
The fate of devolution is now tied on Parliament's resumption on the 11th of February, when Mutambo says he will table the bill. Samogina, KTN.
Right now, before we even consider the merits of the proposal to reduce the number of counties, this might perhaps be a good time to take a look at the road to devolution. How did we get here? Well, according to the report by the Committee of Experts, which was responsible for putting together the constitution we have now, many considerations were made. Now, they had to take into consideration many of the contentious issues that existed in the Bomas draft that flopped in the 2005 referendum. First off was the number of devolved units which we're discussing today. Now, they initially considered using the districts as were constituted at that time. The number was a challenge with 250 districts existing at that time. It was agreed, however, that these were way too many and that there would be a costly replication of organs and institutions of government. Besides, there was also the controversy surrounding the number of districts that were created in 1992, and with the High Court's decision that districts that were created in 1992 were unlawful, they quickly abandoned this proposal and stuck with the original number of districts as at 79, which is definitely much smaller than that number of 250 and definitely more manageable. Okay, even this was too large, and they eventually settled at the number 47. How did they do this? This was the original number of districts that were created at the time of independence. Now, the Constitution was eventually passed in 2010, as we all know, and devolution became a reality after the March 4th, 2013 election. And with the counties came the challenges that are now threatening to explode. Now, no sooner had the county assemblies and county executive committees been established than the issue of money came up. This time it was over their salaries. The MCAs, as we may all remember, wanted higher pay, saying that their salaries were not in tandem with their job description. They went on strike, others went on a go-slow, effectively crippling the work of counties as the county finance bills were up for discussion at the time. An agreement has since been reached, but they are still not happy with their new perks. On average, an MCA will now take home at least 293,000 shillings, up from 105. Next came the challenges to raise funds to run the 47 counties. In the last few weeks, there have been riots in various counties over what some have called ridiculous taxes introduced by counties to raise the much-needed finances. Then accusations came that the governors had misused the funds that were allocated to them last year on foreign trips and pay perks. The governors in general have refuted the claims of misuse of funds in the report that was released recently by the Auditor General. The new battle in the counties now is not about money. It pits the governors against the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. The commission says it has begun an audit of all jobs at the counties to ensure that at least 30% of the jobs go to minority groups in the counties. Let's carry on with the news. For the first time, Jubilee leaders in both houses of parliament have admitted that people inside Jubilee government were playing games with the standard gauge railway tender. The majority leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, and the majority leader in the Senate, Kithure Kindiki, have now given President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto an ultimatum to name and fire those people. leaders affiliated to the Jubilee government did not mince their words, saying they will reveal the names of those behind the Anglo-Leasing scandal and by extension pointing a finger at them too for allegedly fighting the Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway tender. The leaders gave a 7-day ultimatum to President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto to name the individuals or they themselves would do it. The leaders said that there are some people inside the Jubilee government who are trying to benefit from the standard gauge railway.
We want to tell the president and the deputy president like this. Wale hawa huyo mtu hawa wawili hapo hawa watu yako wenye wanajaribu kujificha kwa marinda ya serikali hapo tu wanalala hapo kwa marinda ndio waletanga kichwa. Lazima muwatimue kabla ya wiki moja. La sivyo sisi wanabunge tutatimua hawa.
We are telling Uhuru and Ruto, we are giving you 7 days to tell the architects of Anglo-Leasing, your government must give a statement. Uhuru's government must give a statement regarding the architects of Anglo-Leasing who are now using the same trick to come into the railway tender, wakule pesa na Wakenya wasijengewe reli.
Mumeona juzi kijana mrafiki yangu anaitwa KTN, mjumbe wa kule Nandi. Miaka ni kidogo sana kuliko yangu. Juzi anakuja kwa kamati ya Ichongwa pale. Anakuja na wakili moja mkubwa sana. Anaitwa Ahmed Nasir. Ahmed Nasir kumuita tu muende tu pamoja hivi ni milioni 10. Kutembea tu na yeye tu mpigwe picha ni milioni 10. Huyu kijana milioni 10 ametoa wapi?
Mimi sitaki kunena sana hayo ya reli. Sababu tunajua ilianza wakati wa hiyo serikali ya Nuzi. Si ndio? Na sababu yuko kamati ambayo mimi ni naibu wa mwenyekiti, sitaki kusema mengi. But it's important to tell the people of Kenya that Parliament and the Public Investments Committee will look at the facts and nothing but the facts.
The country for a long time has been hijacked by a few corrupt individuals who run cartels. And their work is to wait for every new government to intimidate them. They have done it before, and they think because they have money, they can control the country as personal property.
And as is the norm, they had no kind words for the ARC rivals in the CORD coalition.
We are telling the CORD leadership, if you want to ascend to power after 20 years, if you want to become the president, you must remove the old guys, these analog leaders. Hawa kina Raila, tunajaribu kusukuma mimi na Ruto 207.
Starting with the upcoming ODM elections.
Hata chama yake sasa simuliona. Henry Kosgei amepotea. Franklin Bet ndio huyo. Marende amekataa. Fred Gumo haonekani. Imekuwa chama ya kabila moja. Afadhali, in fact, I'm advising him to give to Orengo. Hiyo Secretary General patia watu yako. Wewe kila cheo hawachukue.
The leaders were speaking at Mau Mau freedom fighter General Theuri Njoge Kimbo's funeral in Keni constituency in Nyeri. Carol Jerry for KTN in Keni, Nyeri County. 8 suspected terrorists are in police custody following intensified patrols and intelligence gathering to track down people planning terror attacks in the country. Among them are 4 suspects who were arrested and charged in court in connection with the last blast at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The National Police spokesperson Gatiria Mboroki says the Inspector General of Police has asked security agents and the public to be on high alert to detect and prevent any acts of insecurity in the country.
We have been able to arrest 3 persons suspected to be Al-Shabaab in Marsabit town who are traveling from Nairobi. These suspects have been arraigned in court. In Nyahururu, 1 suspect who is believed to have connections with Al-Shabaab terror group is in custody and investigations are in progress. During the course of week, 4 suspects have since been arrested and appeared before court in connection with the blast at JKIA. Further investigations are ongoing.
Former powerful Cabinet Secretary Nicholas Biwott has reacted with fury to rumors that have been on social media all day that he had passed away. Speaking in Kaptarakwa in Uasin Gishu County this afternoon, Biwott threatened to take those who had started that rumor to court.
Na washukuru wa Kenya wote na marafiki wote ambayo mpaka Amerika mpaka dunia mzima wamenipigia simu na wamemwambia niko sawa na wamelaani na wote wanataka hao watu washikwe. Wameniongezea maisha. Kwa maana mwenye kuumba watu hawezi kuambiwa afanye mambo mengine sio yake.
Now in 2012, Karen Ngugi took a step that would change her life. Karen, a deaf student, left the Muhoho Secondary School for the deaf and enrolled at a regular school. In order to keep up with the lessons, her parents engaged the services of an interpreter and thus began a journey that is changing the perceptions long held by many around them. Wilkis Tanyabo brings us that inspiring story.
They open, but they close again.
In Karen's world, only one voice matters.
It is possible.
It is soundless, but to her it is louder than all the other voices in the classroom. It speaks to her in a language full of unique signs and symbols, and through the one who wills it, she has found her voice. Miriam has been Karen's sign language interpreter for 3 years now. Their days together begin at 8 every weekday when Karen's lessons start. Little things such as where to sit in class have taken on a new significance. Karen chooses a seat that puts both teacher and interpreter in her line of sight. Every word uttered by the teacher is reflected by Miriam in sign language to Karen. And when the teacher has a question for Karen,
what happened to the stomach, Karen?
It's a hard word to pronounce, and that's why.
Fine, it's all right.
Miriam relays it in sign language and then verbalizes Karen's response. Questions and answers flow back and forth from class to class. It is a system that they have perfected through the years. Karen was not born deaf. She lost her hearing at the age of 4.
I was not born deaf. When I was 4 years old, I got meningitis, and then it left me deaf. No, it wasn't that hard because my family, they love me, they took care of me.
Karen's father insisted that she attend school and learn to speak as others did. But new challenges cropped up when she moved to a secondary school for the deaf.
When I joined Form 1 in Muhoro School for the Deaf, there is a Muhoro School for the Deaf, I learned sign language there. So I have the advance of 2 ways of communication. I have 2 ways of communicating. But being deaf meant that I do not socialize so much because now I'm deaf.
She soon decided to enroll in a regular school instead. The Braeburn school had never had a deaf student before, but they were willing to let her in. This meant that Karen's parents had to engage the services of a sign language interpreter, and thus the great adventure began. In the beginning, Karen and Miriam struggled to find their footing. They had to navigate through problems they had not anticipated.
There was one student, in fact in this class, but not in her class, who once asked me, where is your sick student? And then if I kept quiet, that I don't tell Karen, and later she comes to learn that I didn't tell her, it's also wrong.
But art class quickly became a favorite corner. Here at last was a place where words were not needed and Miriam could hang back as the teacher took over.
My first art class with her was a very tough one. In fact, I opted to write because I was wondering, I speak and the interpreter tells me you're too quick. And it's art. Remember, it's a practical subject, so we need to draw. And there's no way I can just start drawing. I mean, it was just tough. I've learned sign language with her. And also I've learned to listen to her and hear her, and she would listen to me and hear me. a lot of lip reading. So when I'm with her, I'm careful to pronounce words so that she can be able to lip read.
Happy birthday to you.
While Miriam accompanies Karen to all lessons, during break times, Karen is left to her own devices to take tentative, vital steps alone towards a social life. Like typical teenagers, she and her friends have found ways to communicate.
That's what Karen was suggesting. Okay, my friends here in school, we communicate, like we talk, with speech, They speak, I lip read. Sometimes I use my interpreter to speak to them.
Miriam and Karen's time together is drawing to an end. In June, Karen will complete her O-level studies, embarking on another phase. Already she is topping her class in most subjects.
Giving up, if you give up, it never solves anything. Giving up is not a good thing. Even if you fail, you must get back and continue rolling.
But the true test will come when she leaves. She will have to straddle both the hearing and non-hearing worlds and use what she has learnt here to succeed. A few words of sign language.
Hi.
Hi. Please. Sorry. And thank you. To the rest of the world, sign language often seems like a lot of hand gestures that bear little meaning. But for the deaf community, these signs ensure that in a world that grows increasingly louder, their voices are not lost. Wilkistan Yabo, KTN in Thika.
Yeah, that is very, very inspiring about this young lady who's doing the best she can. And that's why here at KTN in Kenya, we make an effort to make sure we're as inclusive as possible. And that is why William Silla is with us every single evening on our bulletin to make sure that the deaf too can hear our bulletins tonight. We want to take a short break, but I'd like to sample some of your comments regarding the interview we had with the Mwingi Central Member of Parliament on the reduction of counties from 47 to 9. Edward Miroga, you say, tell the MP to first reduce the number of MPs. Let him do the math, kindly. Edward, watching us in Kasarani, he did mention that they want to reduce the number of members of National Assembly as well from, I think, 349 to about 180. Ricky Kimani, you say, listening to Mutambo on the reduction of counties, I'm almost persuaded and I support the idea. Keep your thoughts coming on that one. It's an interesting discussion. We wait to see how it goes once it's tabled in the House. Let's take a short break now, but don't go away. We have very many good stories coming up for you after the break. We'll see you then. How would you treat your own son or daughter if they were gay?
Any discussion about interfering with the structure, the composition, the functioning of counties is uncalled for. It is unacceptable. It is anti-devolution.
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime.
Welcome back. Now, in Kenya, homosexuality has been described as immoral and against African tradition. But homosexuals have defended their sexual orientation just as passionately. The question never asked, though, is how would you relate with a family member who comes out to say they're gay? KTN's Doreen Bira reports.
Eric Gitari. I am a homosexual in Kenya. I am a lawyer. I am 30 years old.
These are the words not many Kenyans and Africans would dare utter in the open, and even fewer would want to listen to. But Eric Gitari is bold and he's out of the closet.
By the time I was completing primary school and ready for high school, I knew, because I was at the ripe of my teen years, I knew that I wasn't straight.
High school is always challenging, but when you add to that challenges faced by a teenager with a sexual orientation society would rather not talk about, it is a nightmare.
I went to a boys' boarding school, And well, of course I had the peer, because of peer pressure, I had my girlfriend, and sometimes you would write love letters to girls, but at the same time you have boyfriends, not just in your school but in other schools. It was difficult. People would taunt you because you thought there was something curiously suspicious about you. I had nicknames in high school, such as Tausi.
A lot has been said about gay people, but very little attention has been paid to what happens to a person's friends, parents, and siblings when it is known that that person is gay. When Eric joined law school to pursue his degree, he had to deal with peers questioning his personality, his friends and family pointing fingers at his body language.
Oh, there was always suspicion, you know? Yeah, I mean, you could, okay, people used to say you could tell. I mean, it's obvious. The way he talks, and you guys are like, hey, I think he's a bit gully.
Because of what people are talking too much about, I decided now to show it to your face. You're saying that I'm gay and you say that gay people wear studs, I'll wear a stud. You think that gay people are very flamboyant in the way they dress, I'll put on red pants and shock you with colors.
It wasn't until mid-2013 that he came out publicly on social media platform Facebook. His coming out had grave consequences.
There's that nasty example where we wanted to go and get a haircut at this barber shop in 20th Century, 4th floor, and they told us they will not give us a haircut. There are friends who have blocked me and rejected me on Facebook, people I went to law school with. I've had cousins who have told me that I'm shaming the Tharaka County. I have been told that I am an outcast, that I am abnormal, that I am demon possessed.
Sometimes he sits down and then he zones off, you know, for a while, and he comes back and he's all happy and, you know, but you can tell that there's something deep going on.
The million-dollar question we should be asking is it better for homosexuals to keep silent about their situation or come out publicly? And also, on the other hand, as a society, are we doing any justice by being homophobic? 23-year-old Dennis Gitari, Eric's younger brother, has had to deal with the vulnerability of his brother's sexual orientation.
At first, I was a bit confused. And I started doing some research. Then I talked to him about it. Yeah, so I've been understanding, and I must confess that I'm still understanding. Yeah. Like for me, I'm straight, I'm attracted to women. So it's quite hard to understand why a fellow man could be attracted to another man. I have friends, close friends, we still hang out, but they don't like the idea of my brother being gay.
Dennis also questions why, besides carrying the same DNA, his brother's orientation varies from his own. But Dennis maintains blood is thicker than homophobia.
Eric has been a big brother to me. He has always been there for me. And we have come from a very challenging environment as young children up until now. And we have been encouraging one another to move forward. And our relationship has just grown stronger.
His friends too.
I felt the urge to be closer to him more because I knew probably he'd be, having challenges, and probably a few friends would walk away. So I had the urge to be closer to him more.
We randomly sampled views of the Kenyan public on this question of accepting gays among us.
We'll hit him with a stone until death. And that fellow, if he does that way, he will enter officially paradise.
Unless she's supposed to be my pal, that one I'll cut off everything because she might try something, you know. But if she's my sister, she's my blood sister, she's my family. That's her choice. I have nothing to do about it.
Ndugu yangu kama angekuwa na tabia kama hizo, okay, ningemchukulia uamuzi wa kumshauri ili achane na kitendo na tabia kama hizo, na kama basi atakuwa amekataa hata nielewa, basi huyo mimi nitamtenga kuwa asiwe ndugu yangu.
I am a child of God. That's
Kiama Mugambi has preached about sexual orientation at Mavuno Church and maintains that while it is against Christian values, the homophobic attitude towards the LGBT community does not represent the faith of a Christian life either.
They have questions about what God says about this. They have a deep longing to want to love that person but not know how to do it. The bigger question is, what is God's is God relating with his people, and how has he set out how that relationship is to be worked out and to be lived out? But beyond that, we are created to be social beings, to be in relationship with God, in relationship with one another. It is unfortunate when people are taken out.
That every human has a right to life is every bit as constitutional as it is biblical. However, the African continent is struggling with the pressure to balance this phenomenon with strict African traditions. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Weekend Prime.
Thank you for that, Joy Doreen Bira, taking a look at the other side of that story. Now, we want to take a short break now, but we all believe, or at least many of us do, in love at first sight. Is that not right? Okay. We'll tell you after the break about a couple who are in love but have never seen each other. All of that's coming up. Time for sports news now. Kenya Cup leaders Nakuru FC extended their unbeaten run in the league by edging out Lunch Bar Queens 27-21 in a pulsating clash at the RFUA grounds. The visiting Nakuru side confirmed their zeal to run away with the Kenya Cup League trophy with their extension of a perfect score this season. Though closely contested, Nakuru carried the day in what seemed as a revenge after Queens were beaten 31-13 at the same venue last season. The victory capped Nakuru's consecutive win this season. In other matches, Mwamba thrashed Mombasa RFC 105-5 in a one-sided affair, while Western Bulls beat Main Machine 45-24 as Homeboys humiliated Eldoret RFC 36-5. Nondis and Impala got a walkover after their opponents failed to honour the fixture. Right, now the Prisons Department has named a strong team to represent them at the National Cross Country Championships next month. The team will be led by Frederick Musyoki and Cynthia Cherotich, who emerged winners at the Prisons Cross Country Championships Saturday.
The local cross-country circuit is now on the home stretch, with the Prisons Department becoming the last disciplined force to organize their championships. Held at the Uhuru Gardens, the Prisons Cross-Country Championships attracted a sizable number in the women 8 kilometers race. Competitors navigated through the seemingly tough course, and the top prize was not for the faint-hearted. Cynthia Cherotich proved her worth, breaking away from the rest of the field after the second kilometer and finally cut the tape in 27 minutes, 12.13 seconds. Nancy Nziza and Grace Mwanzi was second and third respectively.
Jua imekuwa kali, changamoto mingi, jinsi mnavyoelewa cross country.
The men 12 kilometers field brought together experienced cross-country runners, with most of them gunning for a slot in the National Cross-Country Championships that will also double up as trials for the Africa Cross-Country Championships in Kampala. It was a battle for supremacy between reigning National Cross-Country Circuit jackpot winner Frederick Musyoki and former jackpot winner John Mwangangi. Musyoki reigned supreme in 35 minutes, 55.6 seconds ahead of Mwangangi. 1500 meters Commonwealth champion Silas Kiplagat was the star attraction of the race. Kiplagat is preparing to kick off the 2013 season with a series of indoor competitions.
Some few races I'll be participating at. That's Germany, Russia, and then Stockholm.
Athletes selected during the Prisons Cross-Country Championships here at the Uhuru Gardens will take 2 weeks to rest and prepare for the National Cross-Country Trials set to be held here in Nairobi on the 15th of February. Lynn Washira, KTN.
Right now, I'd wanted to end with that news of the snake in Kwale and what it does or does not do or rumored to do. But I'm so sorry we're out of time. We will definitely give you that story tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you very much for watching KTN News tonight. We will see you again tomorrow. And on behalf of my sign language interpreter tonight, William Silla, we will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Good night.